Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 78 of The Lunch Bunch. And as I say every week, it's going to be spectacular. And I mean it, because today we have a very special guest. This guy is someone that if you're on Google+, you would definitely know, and if you are in social media in any kind of way, you probably know him as well, because he's written articles with Social Media Examiner and books and all kinds of stuff. So you've heard of him anyway, for sure. So here it is. His name is Martin Shervington. Yay! And Martin is a guy I met almost 3 years ago on Google+, and he's responsible for this show, basically. He got me on my very first hangout, dragged me in kicking and screaming, and those people who I met on that hangout, they're from all over the world, are still buddies of mine on Google+. So that's the power of Google+ and relationships, and Martin's made it his job for these last few years to build relationships on Google+. You know, whatever Google does with the platform, we continue to bend and shape it. And as Mark Traphagen said, you know, they built it, we hacked it. And Martin certainly has done a lot of bending and shaping in Google+. So without further ado, Martin, want to say a couple words about, give us an elevator pitch on what you're doing.
Hello, everybody. Thanks, Ray. I run two communities, one of which is Plus Your Life, and the other is Plus Your Business. And I have a paid academy, which I know Ray's let me plug. Got paid academy, which we're going to be talking about, but I do a lot of experiments. I look at what works, and I look at how we can best use circles, best use communities, best use hangouts to connect with people and have conversations.
Okay, Martin.
Business.
Let's see. Who are you? Who's Martin Shervington?
Okay, you want the back here. So I've got my degree to start there. Is I graduated, I don't know, 95 with a law and business studies degree. My postgraduate is in organizational psychology. I've run businesses since I was, even at university, I ran a windsurfing academy. But then at age 22, I went and lived in Australia for a couple of years. And then I traveled for a year after that and kind of went, there's a lot to life. I'm going to go and explore. And so I wrote books. And so the psychology and the personal development and everything came through. And then I found myself here to promote some books actually 3 years ago and went, this is awesome. This is an amazing experience in connecting with people. And back in those days, which I'm sure we'll talk about, it was just so exciting to wake up every day and to be here. So, and I kept on exploring. I kept on testing stuff and writing it all up. Everything I teach, everything I learn, I teach.
Great, good stuff, and I'm sure many people didn't know that about you, about your past, and what you've done, and the books that you've written. I'm going to go down the panel before we ask our first question. I'm going to ask BL. BL, what's the best thing that happened to you this weekend?
This weekend, I got to hang out in Central Park and have breakfast at a place called the Boathouse, where you can sit and look at the lake in Central Park and have the best bacon in New York City and hang out with friends and your dogs, and so that was pretty cool.
Oh, wow, totally envious. Hashtag envy. Wow, that's amazing. Jessica, how about you? How was your weekend?
We were so busy this weekend. It was fabulous. It was so beautiful. We didn't want to be inside the house at all, so we ended up out and about every single day. We went to a Kentucky Derby party where I wore a really awesome hat, and we went and we played at some parks, and then we actually saw a play called Robin Hood at the Seattle Children's Theater and a whole bunch of other stuff, but we'll stop at those highlights because I don't want to make you have to use jealous twice.
Wouldn't it have been amazing to have a Kentucky Derby hangout, and we could have all worn like amazing hats?
Can Jess
I would have
wear a
loved
hat? Can you take your hat, Jess?
It's actually upstairs, so no, I can't get it, but it is in my Google profile stream and it was really cute. I'm glad you liked it.
Okay. Randy, I guess I can probably guess what you did on the weekend.
Well, actually, my horse came in fourth in the Derby, which was not a good feeling of loss, but I made up for it on Sunday when my NASCAR driver came in first, so it balanced out for the weekend. So that was my weekend.
A sporty chap. Scott, how was yours?
I had a great weekend. It was bonding with my 15-year-old son who took out the old hard drives and replaced them with new hard drives, including 126 gig SSD. So, and it was just an amazing process to see him go through all of those gyrations.
That's super. That was
That
like
sounds like a true geek weekend right there.
I was going to say that. What a geek fest! Nothing
Yeah,
brings the family together like geeking over a computer. Okay, on to the first question. Our first question for Martin is, so how has the culture of Google Plus changed since we met 3 years ago, and how should people approach it now that maybe is different than they would have approached it originally, Martin?
I think let's begin with how it was in the early days. We had a lot of public hangouts, and public hangouts would appear in the stream, and people would just jump in and connect. And remember, I use it. You know, it was like the hippie days. It was like we're walking around. It's kind of like, yeah, and everyone felt that it was an exceptional experience. And I think that as communities came in December 2012, people's attention went from being in the public stream off into siphoned silos of interest and passion, and a lot, I suspect, went into threads as opposed to having hangouts and having just random connections with people. So as the waves continued, I think that the focus on the stream has become a lot more. I think now with collections, we can see that that's a real, it's sort of a focus for Google as well, is the engagement and people differentiating content, categorizing, and so on. So I think that is different. I think the system changes make the opportunity for a culture change and usually drive a culture change. I think that we've kind of grown up together, and a lot of us have moved on and grown up. There's new people that are coming through, and the culture, I don't think, is the same from the how can we help everybody in every which way we can. I think that was there a lot more in the early days. It's something that we've certainly doing our best within a community, and there may be many other communities. I don't feel that we're just. Do you know what? I'm being very open about it. I feel that the excitement isn't there for a lot of people like we had, Ray. And I think the reason why is that we're either not helping enough people, or we're not connecting with enough people, or we're not doing enough things together that enable people to go, do you know what? This is unbelievable. It's nothing like Twitter. It's nothing like Facebook. It's just great. That's how it was. And I'm very much focused on doing my bit for my community of bringing that back and making it a very tight experience for people, because you remember we'd sit in hangouts doing campaigns together and people running in and running out. I want to build virtual workspaces that allow that to happen so that people have the experience that we had in the early days. To do that, we need what we're creating, which is a search engine for hangouts that people register a hangout, say this is what's going. We have better discoverability and control over who has access to that information. So there's certain things we don't have that I feel we need in order for the culture to be what it was from where we are. And then let's just show people that it's awesome here, because it is. It's amazing.
Well, you know, we bang that drum, you know, you especially, but I think all of us from way back have banged that drum a lot. And it's really, really difficult getting people over on Google+, and we've discussed this in the show several times as well. It's fine for here. It's easy to get that word across on the platform itself. And I was wondering if someone were to go to a client and say, you know, you really seriously have to think about Google+ as a choice. First of all, they'll laugh at you, or they'll ask you what that is. But what argument would you give, if you can break it down to one argument, why a business should consider going on Google+?
It's simple, but it's not going to be what you're not going to like it.
Try me. Go ahead.
Local.
What's that?
Local.
Oh,
local.
Yeah.
Local and mobile. That's it. Local. We're training. This is the other side of what we do. Thanks for letting me be so self-promotional. But just to know, this is where I'm at. People need to know that this is the direction that we've gone. Local, we're training over 110 consultants right now in a community over a 5-week period, because I believe that the easiest thing to sell out there in the world is make sure your business is on the map if it's a local business. Make sure that you're getting reviews. If you value standing out next to the people that are, you know, the next door, that is the one thing. Everything else, it's hard. So why make it hard? Be awesome. Let people find you. Do your content yourself. If they come to you and they convert, go into clients and try to sell. Let them discover it. And I think that's the thing you've got to get back to. Be more awesome, and they will come that way. And I think we've lost that because we've been trying to sell. Do you know? You can quote me on that. Be more awesome. But we've been trying to sell this. No, I started the clients a long time ago.
I'm going to bring up Andrew's point, and that's an interesting problem. I never got that problem. One problem is finding the newbies to engage with, and I would have thought that wouldn't have been too difficult.
Who is saying this?
This is Andrew Hatchett.
So I know that some people used to come to one of my communities, the level 1, and then invite them to the people that I brought into the community to their communities because they thought that was a reasonable thing. And that's something which is that's a cultural thing as well. Is what are we doing here? What's fair and what's right to be done? Would you go to somebody's email list and simply go and poach from somebody's email list the attention that's brought in? And yet that's something that's happened in communities. And I think that's, again, is having these conversations and being willing to make sometimes tough choices and removing people from communities when it's not aligned to the direction in the future. And
that's kind of, Martin, that's kind of the nature of the ethics of online. But let me ask you about the uptake before you get too far down the line away from that. In trying to get the pickup or the newbie in, do you see a correlation with, and you keep referring to the old guys, us that have been here for a while, and the newbies? Do you see a correlation in that maybe people, or there's a segment out there that sees this as a 2013 model and they've moved on to a new platform or something like that, and they just don't want to go back because that's an old, no matter what kind of refresh was there?
I would say that it's down to waves and down to energy and down to how we communicate out in the world. I think that the climate, there's two different things, culture and climate. The culture is one that we create through our behaviors and what we allow to happen and what we don't, and through the system changes that we make, the categorizations in communities, the behaviors of removing spam or not. That creates a culture, and it's a shared way of doing things. Then we have climate. Climate exists out in the world and how we respond to it, like we're in a greenhouse. And the wind has been blowing cold on a lot of press stuff in the last year, and we know that, and we know it's been it's tough because people have been going, I heard they're shutting it down, and I've had that, and I have people scoff at me when I talk about Google+, and it's like, actually, it's a layer within Google, and we don't have to keep drumming on about that. It's Google. We are using Google's tools. I use Drive every day. I use YouTube every day. We're broadcasting on YouTube right now. People eventually will understand that this is not only a social destination. However, do I think that a lot of people should be using, as we use on the content side in a business from a standing zero strat? If they want to, yeah. But trying to sell it to them? This is why I'm saying we're training 100 local consultants, and this is just the start, because I believe the entry point of a lot of people into Google Plus is going to be get your page together, get sorted in search, get your reviews. Why try and convince people? Just be awesome. That's it. You know, and I think I've seen this so much, Randy, that everybody's trying to solve a problem of bringing people in as if, no, just love it. Get everyone together to be excited. And then if people find you, great. Now, to do that, you have to have a business model, or you have to have a way of sustaining yourself and not be expecting that over the horizon, hordes of hungry people are going to arrive and suddenly say, oh, my God, I want to eat your hamburgers that you've been cooking here.
So to sum that down is it comes back to be comfortable inside your niche and experiment in your niche. As that grows, the organic will work.
I've changed the word comfort. Why be comfortable? Why not be exceptional? And when I say exceptional, I mean, be unique. It's a better word. And that is also drive forward and test and experiment and see what works and what doesn't. Comfort, to me, isn't the place to be on this platform now. Comfort's put a Kafka out and hashtag it, best cat cuddling GIF, whatever. And you're gonna get some traction. You get lots of shares, and what life-changing difference is it going to make to you?
Before we go, I'm going to ask the panel if they wanted to approach this topic one more time before we move on to your PYB community specifically. But comfort is what people normally think of when they go to a social media platform, because it's the comfort of of connecting with people that you know and familiar faces and yes, the cat photos and all that type of thing. What they don't find on Google Plus.
I love cat days. I'm a big fan of Cat Day, so let's not take that away.
Okay, and we won't mention Star Wars. So what they find out when they get here is that it's anything but comfortable, and it's difficult and it's complex, and that just like bang, they're out the door. It's okay for some people, it's not okay for other people, and I think we have to get that message across as well, that it's not for everyone. Anybody want to approach this before we move on to the community?
What was bumping around between my ears as this conversation has been developing is the steps. There were steps actually outlined by Martin talking about leading by example. So that whole section would be worth watching again and reading and catching those steps and actually saying, hey, okay, he's saying lead by example and I will be found and people will learn who I am and I can start conversations that way because I'm being awesome. And I really liked that and just wanted to repeat that. I think that's very valuable.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, sure. One of the things that I think we've been all waiting for is a tipping point. And I guess my question is, Martin, are you saying that there will be no tipping point, or that the tipping point still might, that people will come rushing in to Google Plus, might be through the mobile door and through the local door, and that's where we need to focus our attention?
But I think, Scott, the thing is that the door may not be quite what you think it's going to be, because the door is actually on their mobile device when they find the data that's being pulled from the Google Plus page and the reviews of those people that are fitting in. And I think that model from last July onwards, when the mobile stuff really came through, Google My Business relaunched, Google's attention is connecting people to the right information at the right time. So we are here, enjoy these tools. Do not necessarily think all those people are going to come. It may be that we need to serve them on the street, not in the restaurant. And I'm just saying that if everyone's expecting a tipping point, it may not be quite what we think is going to happen. And that's all I'd encourage and if people say, wow, how do you get that into search? I want to get my stuff into search. Then that's a straightforward conversation. I'll show you how to do it. But you've got to build authority. Look at how much work David Amland and Mark Traphagen and Ronnie, look at how much has gone on in order for them to have the notoriety in what they do. And Brian Honigman, I interviewed him the other day. He's got 600 blog posts he's written around marketing. And he's got a first page for marketing consultant, 600 blog posts. How many people are going to do that work in order to get that result? So tipping point, we are here. Enjoy the tools that Google's given us. Everything changes. Make the most of it. And connect with the right people for you. That's all. That's my best advice. Not expecting that they're going to come that way. They may, but they may not.
So we're going to move on to the second half of the show because we talked about the evolution of Google Plus. Now we're going to talk about the evolution of one of the most successful communities on Google Plus, and that's Plus Your Business community, Plus Your Life. But Plus Your Business in particular, because as many of you know, Martin is creating or has created a brand new entity called Plus Your Business Academy. And we're going to talk about that sometime. So I'm going to ask Martin basically, what did the evolution of Google Plus, of Plus Your Business into the Plus Your Business Academy, was that a strategic move that was planned at the very beginning, or how did that evolution come along?
Yeah. So May 2012, 3 years ago, I decided I would set up an academy in relation to Google+. May 2013, I launched Plus Your Business, and it was the community first. I got the URL, I think, back in the March. July 2014, we launched the academy. So 2 years ahead of time, I saw that this was the way that I was going to go. Now, that was it's not easy in every which way, and I'll be telling a lot more of some of the challenges, particularly in relation to community management. But from a community leadership point of view, the trajectory has been to build the most authoritative network on the planet, to bring them together in one place, and to lift people up and make them show their uniqueness. That's been the vision all along, and it's a long thing. And sometimes, as I say, some days it's very, very tough because you're not just doing community leadership, you're doing community management. And there's a big, big difference. And one of the experiences, I'll be quiet for a second because I wanted to explain what I did in relation to the community management this week and why that's actually changing the leadership. Shall I just explain? Can I give an example?
Sure.
Everybody at the moment, if people are community owners or community moderators, people pretty much post what they want in there and use it as a distribution channel for their content. Or people come along and will then invite other people to their community and say, look, I see you're in the Plus Your Business community, or why don't we do it? And basically people are fishing or they're using it as a distribution channel. And that's kind of how it's been around here for a while. And my view, and I put this on the weekend, if you had a page, Ray, if you've got a page, would you give other people access to the page as a distribution mechanism for their content?
Well, no, not unless they were, people who I trusted.
And this is then the thing. When you get to a point and you've got tens of thousands of people in communities and people are pretty much allowed to post anything and then anyone can get, we're actually change the model. Communities become a shared distribution mechanism. Why not choose who can do the distribution? And what I'm saying, and we're running this as a test for Academy members, which is a paid membership, not only can you distribute through the Plus Your Business community, but you can also, as long as it's relatable content, we've got the Plus Your Business page, we've got the Plus Your Life community, we've got the Plus Your Life page. It's got over 200,000 followers on it. Why not view community as a tighter thing that is supporting its members, as opposed to just letting anyone do what they want because they are there? And this is the challenge I have, and I'm doing this now because Collections has launched this week. We have an opportunity to adjust our view. And our view is, who do we support and how do we best support them?
Can I roll it a little bit back, Martin, because I want to give people the context of this, because you're describing exactly what's happening now. But I'd like to go back, because there's a lot of people who are struggling with maintaining and managing communities, and you've written some excellent posts about that. Can you just give us a description of what the PYB community was in the beginning, and how that impacted, and where it's going to be now that you've started the community? Like, do they feed off each other? Are they completely separate entities?
Yeah. So we know that where it's going to be very soon, just got a couple of things to tidy out, is a public community, which has greater reach because it now has 17,000 people, which means people will see it in this content in the stream. Some people will have it on Notify, and we'll have a private community, which we do have already, and that's going to be for paid members. And the instruction is, if you have content that will serve the broader community of people, please share it into Plus Your Business. And for new people coming through, we'll help you, we'll answer your questions, we'll point you towards the 250 blog posts, more than that, on Plus Your Business. We've got my site as well. We've got all of these resources. We'll support you, but realize that now, as a culture change, we have a private community and it's a membership community. And we can serve you better as a tighter group than trying to serve everybody all of the time. And it's very intentional. Everyone should know I started experimentation. We don't have to do what's been done in the past. And we don't get a lot of spam, to be honest, because I've trained the algorithms very well to say no. I don't like that, and so it hits the spam filter. But I do find that some people are pushing their content because that's become a cultural thing. Go to a community that's popular, push your content into it, you get reach. Why? Why do we let that happen? We've worked really hard to build these things. And I know that some people go, that's so mean. Again, people turning up to other communities I've had and taking members and taking them to their own community. No. And the person in question knows, and I sent them a message. I'm sorry, I'm throwing you out, and I'm encircling you. You know, it's like this, you shape through your acceptance and through every decision that you make. And you do it with the most kind, open-hearted way, but we have to look at where we're going to be in a few years' time.
So, Martin, moderating communities has always been one of the challenges, and every community's, well, if they're well run, has strict rules on what you can post there and what you can't post there, and you count on your moderators if you're a large community to police that. Yeah. So what you're describing, I mean, that's a management thing.
Yeah.
In terms of sharing, is your community basically now like sort of a paid, better curated version of Triber?
Maybe that's what it becomes. Maybe that's what. Maybe. But there's two things. There's leadership. I'm making the decisions, and I'm standing out and saying, do you know what? It's not working for me, and I don't think it works for a lot of members to continue to do as we've done in the past. Let's do something differently. But let's do it from a perspective of what it would look like when Nick Rink every Friday, as a paid member, shares in his smart local, serves those people. Let's do that. Let's have that. And then the management is me standing by my guns and saying, look, no collections. in the community, even if you're no collection. I don't want do that from your profile, and I remove them. I remove other people's posts, and I don't be like, but that's it. What? No, heck, I'm sorry, but in order to move forward, we need to consider why. Why are we doing this? I own the UK community, and it's got about 40,000 people in it, and it's lovely because people post nice pictures. And it's great, and it's a little bit, it's not really a community, it's a distribution mechanism for most people posting nice pictures. Let's not think that it's a tight, there's probably 10, 15, 20 people that are there out of the 40,000. And yet, people posting nice pictures gets them traction. Why do I sustain it? Because it was accidental, it's the first one I set up. And I think maybe in time, something greater could happen with that. It doesn't take a lot. Spam filter's great, go and click through entertainingly, pretty much every day, everything there. But I'm challenging the assumptions of the tech and how we use the tech.
But that's a major paradigm shift from what it's been for the last inception of social media, in that these platforms are available for distribution. What you've done is you're isolating your communities. You don't say that about the platform itself. But you talk about Martin's community, the people that you've curated that follow you for some other reason, for your expertise.
I have no idea. I don't know. I think it's been stand-up comedy, Andy.
Okay, my brain is going in a million different directions, and the biggest reason I think is because what I hear you saying, and again, I love this, is that, you know what? It's okay to be a leader in a community. It is okay to have a vision and shape that vision for what you want it to be, and allow and still support people along the way.
Absolutely.
And I feel like that's something that in this collaborative world of Google Plus gets lost. And I actually think that's true in the collaborative world at large on the internet, which is why the poaching of your team members or your best contributors or your best assets happens, because of this collaboration mentality. And I like the idea of standing up and saying, why?
Oh, boy, I want to add to that. I mean, it's a different model for sure. I mean, you're talking about a very specific paid model. It's an academy. It's a business strategy. It's a business model. It is, as Randy was saying, it's apart from the general platform of Google Plus or any social platform. So you're creating a business on social media, as it were. I never thought of it that way. Of actually, people use social media. I mean, there's social media consultants that for business, but you are actually creating a business on the platform.
Because I believe we need models. I believe we need new ways of doing things, and I felt this all along, and this is where the experimentation comes in.
Mark Timberlake, was on a couple of shows ago, and we were talking about tribes and communities, and it sounds like, Martin, you've had this big community, plus your business community, plus your life, and by working that community and managing it and getting a team, you've really built a tribe of people inside that community that are really loyal to you and help you and work with you. I mean, Mary and a whole bunch of people who do so much for you in the community. You've taken that tribe now, and with that tribe who is so loyal, you can do this experimentation. But to build a tribe, you have to be a tribal leader, and I guess it's obvious that you obviously are a leader. That would be difficult for most people unless they had that particular skill.
Unless you have a pathway. And I think that, I have content that I'll be putting out publicly, but we'll talk about community leadership, not about community management, not about community moderation. And I see it. Who do I follow on a daily basis? Chris Brogan. The other person in my inbox, Seth Godin. So I'm looking at who is out there that's already got models, but in different places. And I have a shakedown from people sometimes, and they challenge why I'm doing certain things. And that's why I've got to a point which is, I believe that there's a different way and potentially a better way. And I'm certainly willing to alter the model that we have of communities. And it's we've already started this. It's been steps and stages. It's already been well underway for quite a while. It's just people, this is the first time, and I did this very intentionally today, Ray Hills, this is the first time I've spoken as directly as I have about what's going on. And it's a culture change, but it's also system changes and leadership.
I will add that Martin has curated and gathered strong talent inside of his community. And that, what we talked about poaching, he probably realizes and understands there, because of his talent that he's assembled, there's a cross-pollination into those other communities. That's a little bit different than the poaching. And I think when that conversation was going on a second ago, I was thinking about communities that you and I have been in, Ray, where I've seen that happen, where we've had members that came on real strong, and they went off and started their community, and there was a lot of, hey, come over, and then all of a sudden they never were around here, but they still still tried to get you in there, you know. So I think what Martin has, he has the talent base, and some of the others that are sitting there with strong communities have that equal talent base. So I kind of applaud what he's doing there. It probably needs to be a lock and key mechanism that at some point in time to get you can get to give the free stuff. I mean, we've talked about that before. You can give the free stuff and the fluff away, but if you really want to get inside of Martin's brain or to get the golden nugget, it might cost you a little change.
Well, as Chris said, right, Martin? I mean, you can't take a hug to the bank. So Scott, you wanted to say something.
Well, I was just wondering, Martin, once, it might be a little vulnerable and it's growing right now, but once your new model is established, it'll be essentially platform neutral, or asked another way, if Google Plus were to go away, all you'd have to do is find other tools that were comparable, and you could just, pick up where you left off. In other words, it's platform independent at the end of the day.
So it's a great point, Scott. So really it comes down to relationships. So how many people do you have close relationships with? Randy, what you're talking about to me is allies. So the allies are what I would say level 5. And what do we have? We've got Google Semantic Search. We've got David, got Ronnie. Then Eric M's coming on SEO. We have a lady called Elka who's coming in for Zazzle because she's amazing on that. Sue Zimmerman, Instagram. Anna Bennett on Pinterest. So the alumni at level 5 are the people that are all across all platforms, and that means we have reach elsewhere when the time comes. The platform, the community, it could be a Facebook group. It's not, because I prefer the tools. But when you're talking 100 people, or 50, or 200, or 500, you can move things. When you have 16,000, it's a lot harder. So yes, you're right. I love Google Plus. Everyone quote me on that. Yeah, I love Google Plus. I love the tools. I love what we're doing. I am challenging the assumptions that many of us are making around the utilization.
Cool, very good. We're going to have to leave, unfortunately. It's like, it's just like flew by. I didn't even get to the takeout. I'm just going to do a very quick rundown of the takeouts because Scott and Jess shared something, so I'm just going to share that with you. First of all, there's Jess's, which is Richard Branson on community building to grow your business. Jess, I'll share that link in the video. Did you want to add anything to this?
He's my second favorite hero in the entire world. My first favorite happens to be Vin Diesel, but he doesn't write about business, so I couldn't bring a takeout from him.
That's funny because that's George's too. Okay,
I'm in company.
And this is Scott. It's a Udemy online courses. Want to add anything before we?
And only the connection is that there's citizen-produced content, there's citizen-produced online courses. It's the citizen-produced as opposed to other things that I thought was the common link here.
Great. So Martin, this has been a real pleasure, man. And you just gave so much information. My head's spinning. I'm going to go back now and watch the replay because it's always hard as a host to really catch every nuance. So I do that when I edit. Scott, do you want to say anything before we sign out?
Me? No, thank you. Thanks for just pointing me in the direction and let me speak. Thanks everybody who's been watching. I didn't look at comments because I've been looking at these guys. But great to see everyone. I really enjoy it. I think your show, Ray, is brilliant. I think the branding's amazing, and I think you bunched together. Everybody know they had fun. They have fun together, and it's lovely to see.
Well, Martin, and that's that we all met here on the platform. and we've been together now for a couple of years, and that's power to the plus there. So thanks again. I was glad I could draw out some conversation from you, Martin. I know it's difficult for you to come out of your shell. I thank you for that, and everybody, please join us next week for episode 79. Have a great week, and follow this Plus Your Business Academy stuff. There's some good stuff there. Take care. Bye-bye.